I think there are two big lessons we've learned. The first is the importance of looking at IP policy in the context of the overall economy, not just as a subject in its own right, but in terms of what firms invest in knowledge, what society invests in knowledge, and how that knowledge gets converted into innovation, growth and jobs. And that was a pretty central part of the review, and it helped set our thoughts about the priorities on what we needed to change. The lessons we learned about what we needed to change were interesting too. I think we came to the conclusion that the trademark system works. The first bit of the intellectual property system works. The oldest bit of the intellectual property system, actually. The trademark system works, so it isn't broke, don't fix it. And that's why there are no recommendations in the review for reform of trademarks. Patents mostly work. The economic evidence that we took in on patents showed that the incentives were broadly right. Some differences between large and small firms, some issues to be addressed in patent pools, patent thickets and limits to competition. Design was an area where we found some pretty serious problems in the UK regime, which we've been asked to go away and fix. The biggest issue is copyright. I mean, the question that the Prime Minister asked us was, is it possible that the system designed 3 centuries ago is today blocking innovation in digital industries? And the answer for the review was yes, it is. So we've got some work to do, because those digital technologies depend on copying in order to deliver a whole range of economic benefits. So we have some actions to take in the UK, which we can do on our own national copyright regime, which are quite similar to the ones that are being addressed in Canada right now. But we also need to address the international and the European copyright regime. And in terms of what we can learn going forward, I think there is still quite a lot of work to do internationally to refine the evidence base. IP policy has been, I think, dominated by theory and legal principles with very little empirical economic evidence up until the last 10, 15 years. And the plea that I would make is, we're trying to get IP offices and policymakers to work together internationally to build the evidence base that we need to do that. And there are areas like patent licensing where we've got very little evidence at all. And that's very important to understand things like patent thickets, patent pools and limits to competition. So going forward, we need to start stressing the importance of international collaboration and the development of frameworks for looking at how the IP system drives the economy. We're already doing it. I was at the Canadian IP office yesterday setting out what we're doing, and quite a lot of the research approaches that we are adopting are being done in common, and we're sharing methodologies, we're sharing data, we're sharing ways of looking at the problem. And we need to get the Americans going the same way, and other offices around the world. We know virtually nothing about the licensing system. We know where the patents are, we know who owns them, we know whether they get renewed. We don't actually know whether they get used. We know almost nothing about the license payments that are made, apart from the sort of national flows, because firms don't have to disclose them, and they don't. And if we've got a much more open system of innovation in most countries now than we had 15, 20 years ago, much less vertical integration in terms of knowledge use. And so licensing is more important, and we don't understand at all well how it works.